Picture this. You've just finished a long day of work. You're dreaming about dinner, maybe a hot shower. You walk up to your apartment and see your couch lying on the sidewalk. Your clothes are in trash bags. The door? Padlocked. Then you spot your landlord leaning on his car with the smuggest smile you've ever seen. He tells you your lease is void and you have until tomorrow to get out. No warning, no court order. That was my life. But instead of letting him win, I turned his little power trip into the biggest, wildest revenge party this city has ever seen. I had been living in that apartment for 3 years. It wasn't fancy, but it had become home. You know how you grow attached to a place? The scratch marks on the door from moving day, but creaky floorboard you always step over, the perfect corner by the window where sunlight hits in the morning. Rent was cheap, which was the only reason I stayed. My landlord wasn't exactly landlord of the year. He ignored repair requests, was slow with plumbing issues, and even once yelled at me for changing a light bulb without asking him first. But I paid on time every single month, never missed a payment. So, when I saw movers carrying my stuff out while I was still paying rent, I honestly thought I was being robbed. I rushed up, heart hammering, and yelled, "What are you doing with my couch?" One of the guys shrugged. "Talk to him," he said, pointing at my landlord. That's when I saw him, leaning on the hood of his car, sipping coffee like this was just another day. I stormed over. "What the hell is going on?" He looked me up and down, calm as can be. "Lease is void. You violated terms. You're out. I'm taking possession." "What violation?" I asked. He smirked. "Too many guests last month. You know the rules." I laughed out loud. "Are you serious? You saw my brother visit for a weekend and now you think you can throw me out?" He didn't even blink. "You have until tomorrow to get the rest of your stuff." And then he turned away like the conversation was over. I called the police right there. Do you know what they said? "It's a civil matter." Translation, not our problem. So there I was, sitting on the curb with my groceries spilling out of the bag, my possessions scattered, and people staring as they walked by. I grabbed what I could, shoved it into my car, and drove to a friend's place. That night, I barely slept. I was too angry. I pulled out my lease agreement and went through it line by line. I hadn't violated anything. Even the guest clause said visitors were fine as long as they didn't stay more than 14 consecutive days. My brother had stayed for 2. This was completely illegal. Sure, I could sue, but lawsuits take time, and meanwhile, he had locked me out of a place I was still paying for. I paced the room, ranting to my friend. He thinks he can just bully me out because the rent is cheap and he wants to hike it up for someone new. He thinks I'll just roll over. My friend grinned. "So don't roll over. Get creative." That's when the idea started forming. My landlord lived out of town. He only showed up on weekends, which meant from Monday to Friday, no one was watching the place. And here's the best part. I still had my backdoor key. He hadn't changed it. So I made some calls. First, my close friends, then my co-workers, then anyone who had ever said, "We should hang out sometime." I told them all the same thing. "Free party, my place, Friday night, bring whoever you want." Then I reached out to a local DJ I knew from a bar downtown. "How much to spin at a private event?" He laughed. "What kind of event?" "The kind that will make my landlord regret ever being born." He said, "I'm in." By Thursday, word had spread like wildfire. People were texting me, asking for the address. Someone offered to bring a full lighting setup. Another person had a fog machine. This wasn't just going to be a party. This was going to be a statement. Friday night came, and my friend and I snuck in through the back entrance around 5 p.m. My key still worked. We turned on the power, cleared out the living room, and got to work. By 8 p.m, people started arriving. At first, it was just 10, maybe 15 people. We turned on music, passed out drinks. By 9 p.m, the place was packed. The DJ set up in the corner, dropped the first bass line, and the floor started shaking. Someone brought a strobe light, another person projected visuals on the wall with a projector. People were dancing on the kitchen counters, sitting on windowsills, spilling out into the hallway. Neighbours poked their heads out to complain and then stayed to dance. By 10 p.m, we easily had 100 people in there. The entire building was pulsing. The music was so loud you could feel it in your chest. I walked through the crowd, just soaking it all in. People were laughing, shouting, singing along. Someone had turned my coffee table into a dance stage. At one point, a guy I didn't even know walked up to me and said, "Whoever threw this party is a legend." I smiled. Yeah, that'd be me. Around midnight, everything stopped. The front door slammed open, and there he was, my landlord. He stood frozen for a second, eyes wide. Then his face turned red. "What is going on in my building?" The music cut out. People went silent. I stepped forward, calm as ever. "Oh, hey, just making use of the apartment you said I don't live in anymore." The crowd erupted into cheers. Someone started chanting, "Party, party, party." He tried to shout over them, but no one listened. Finally, he pulled out his phone and called the police. When the police arrived, I honestly thought the night was over, but I showed them my key, I showed them my rent receipt. I explained that legally I still had possession until a proper eviction notice went through the court. They looked at him, then at the 100 sweaty people, then back at him. "So this is a civil matter. We can't remove her without a court order." The landlord's jaw dropped. The DJ took that as his cue to drop the bass again. The party roared back to life. The cops just shook their heads and left. I'll never forget the look on his face as the music kicked in and everyone cheered. The party didn't stop until sunrise. By the time everyone left, the apartment was a disaster. Cups everywhere, confetti on the floor, beer spilled on the carpet, and I didn't care. Saturday afternoon, I got an email from my landlord. Subject line, "Urgent, please call me." When I called him, he sounded exhausted. "Look, let's work something out." He offered me a full refund of that month's rent, plus money from my trouble, if I would agree to leave peacefully. I said, "Put it in writing." By Monday, I had my money, my stuff moved out, and my revenge complete. Weeks later, I ran into someone at a bar who said, "Were you at that crazy eviction party a while back?" I grinned. "Yeah, that was my place." He stared at me like I'd just told him I invented fire. To this day, people in that neighborhood still talk about the eviction rave. Some even said it was the best party of the year. And my landlord? Let's just say he never tried pulling that stunt on anyone again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling or suing or fighting. Sometimes it's inviting 100 of your closest friends, cranking up the music, and reminding a crooked landlord that you're not someone to be pushed around.